Hello everyone and welcome to the Sochi 2014 Winter Paralympic Games. It's day 5 of competition here at the Rosa Khuta Alpine Centre, and it is women's slalom day, originally scheduled as a rest day or a spare day. The poor weather on day 4 has meant that we've had to use that spare day, and the women's slalom for the 3 categories, visually impaired, standing and sitting, which was originally scheduled for Friday afternoon, is now scheduled for today. The weather though is not playing ball, although it's better than on day 4. It's snowing rather than raining. The visibility is slightly better, and so long as it continues to snow, the cloud will stay away. If it stops snowing, then the weather will get sucked in and the visibility will be very poor indeed. There's been about 10 to 12 centimeters on the top of the piste, 2 to 5 on the bottom, and the delay in the start isn't to do with the visibility, it's to do with the course workers trying to side slip all this fresh snow off the course to try and prevent it rutting up as much as possible. As always, 3 categories being raced: visually impaired, standing and sitting, and they'll be raced in that order. The skiers and coaches in a good mood at the top of the piste. The lights, as you can see, are blazing. And here is the start list for the first run of the visually impaired category. Of course, slalom decided over 2 runs, and 10 skiers going in the visually impaired. Kasavat, number 3, who would be the favourite for this one, who made a big error in the slalom leg of the super combined, will be looking to make amends here on day 5. Then in the standing category, the outstanding skier here will go with bib number 23. It's Marie Bochet of France, but certainly Germany's Andrea Rothfuss will be hoping to put some pressure on the French skier. There she is. She'll be skiing bib 20, but she's going 13th in the standing category. And then finally, we finish off the competition with the sit ski category. There are 11 competitors in here, and Anna Schaffelhuber is the skier to watch out for there from Germany, already a double gold medalist from these games, like Marie Bochet in the standing category. So those are the skiers, 39 in total due to start this slalom race.
This one it's bad.
But we are delayed until at least 9:30.
The farm pigs have it up here.
This is a fashion pig.
And so it's a waiting game for the athletes. Let's have a look at the course profile set by Michael Charrier of France. Slightly shorter than the super combined slalom run, vertical drop of 180. The start altitude at 1140, finishing at 960. So the technicians have another difficult day ahead of them, prepping the skis, making sure the right wax is on the bases. As you can see, the tables at the top, but it continues to snow, and it's snowing really quite hard. Conditions still a little soft because of the rain that we've had previous to this snow, but as always, the piste workers doing a great job of trying to get the course ready for competition. The salt and the binding agent going down, and hopefully this snow will have been cleared. And just confirmation there that competition will not start before 9:30 local time, and so we will be back shortly before 9:30 to bring you an update and hopefully bring you some alpine skiing action from the women's slalom competition. So please join us just before 9:30, where we'll update you with the weather and start time of the slalom competition for the women.
Basically, the first thing you need is courage. So not just like to be protected and to stay calm, it's just to have some action.
I had already gone skiing before I had my accident, so I can say that it's very comparable. With the monoski, you're closer to the snow, but actually...
Not that many of us.
Prichádzam z prehliadky do cieľa. Hore pristane.
My ski, in terms of other monoskis, is an ordinary race ski, as you see in ski racing. The mount, the frame, including the suspension, is a fairly standard model. Many athletes have the same one, but everything that's in the upper area is pretty individual.
The devices we use are very similar to the ones used in motocross. They also use a different shock receiver, which also makes the turns easier to do because you don't get thrown out of the turn. I use a pretty soft shock receiver because I needed to go in and get out slowly so that I really can swallow the bounce maneuver.
The shell I'm sitting in, I always say that it's my ski shoe, and the moves I make have to be transported to the ski.
The only thing which is really made clear is that we have to have these items because if we crash and slide, those are basically brakes, and so that we don't slide like all the way down. At the start, I have to take on with them.
They have to use the short ski from time to time to get the balance again. Many people think you're doing a lot with the arms and you have to have strong arms, but most of the moves are done by the incline, the side cut of the ski, and the centrifugal force.
Jede Disziplin, wenn man
Each discipline in mono skiing has its own challenges, especially in relation to the ski run when you're going so fast. That requires quite an effort.
The aerodynamic is really important for us. So we've been in the wind tunnel to check something out, what's good, what precision is good, and yeah, especially for downhill, it's really important. For downhill, you need really long skis, like 2 meters and above, because they're much more stable, going straight ahead at a high speed.
Super ski is very fast, and additionally, you have no training for that. You just get one look at it, and then you're straight down to business. It's like yes. Giant slalom and slalom is special thing. There are 2 runs.
They check it as a brand, and then in Paralympic Games, it's slightly
Yeah, now's a good time to go in.
There's got to be 3 or 4 grand. Probably 3 grand. Yeah.
Be here for like the whole day, so I would do it now before everybody's coming here.
People can do together.
And the piece used is naturally matched to the level of impairment.
The jumps are limited because it's really hard for the ice to do the jumps if they don't see. The speed is not as fast as with the able body because the track is a little bit more easier, but then the main difference between the able body and the disabled.
In our sport, we go to different places where the snow's different, the terrain's different. So that's what makes our sport difficult. And the visually impaired is the B1 who is completely blind. There's a B2 that is semi-impaired. And B3 only has a little impairment.
It's very important for the guide to stay in contact with the athlete. If they lose touch, the athlete loses confidence.
We therefore have a wireless connection via Bluetooth. That lets us stay in permanent communication. During the descent, I get his instructions over the radio about what I have to know. For example, the gate sequence, rhythm, change in terrain, fast and slow turns.
I try as far as I can to follow my guide's commands. She gives me all the information I need.
What I discuss with him relates only to the gap between us, and what he says to me relates only to the line of descent. And it really took a lot. Since skiing was introduced as a demonstration sport at the Innsbruck 1984 Paralympics and became a medal event at the Nagano 1998 Paralympic Games. Alpine skiing is practiced worldwide and features 7 disciplines in which athletes combine speed and agility while racing down slopes at speeds reaching 100 kilometers per hour. The events are downhill, slalom, giant slalom, super G, super combined, team events, and the most recent
Как мы с вами познакомились в горнолыжными дисциплинами, которые представлены на Паралимпиаде здесь, в Сочи, и, как мы видим, 30 комплектов наград будет разыграно, и очень интересно, конечно же, новая дисциплина, это параслалом, с которым мы познакомимся с вами уже завтра здесь, в национальном.
Everything on the different discipline here for Paralympic story. Today, remember women's slalom with a 10 racer in visually impaired. We will have 18 racer in standing and 11 racer in sitting. Race in run. I'm very excited to find Sasha because I know that you don't need a lot of people to be crazy, Sasha.
Well, you won't be. I got a lot of people here to go crazy, so hello everyone. I mean, bonjour, madame and monsieur. I got here with the spectators and fans from France, and they are really here and they are really ready to go crazy and wild.
Welcome to the Sochi 2014 Winter Paralympic Games. It's day 5 of competition here at the Rosa Alpine Centre, and it's Women's Slalom Day. Originally scheduled as a rest or spare day, the organisers, the race committee, have had to use this spare day because of the postponement of the speed part of the Super Combined. So the women's slalom that was due for day 7 of competition has now been moved to day 5, and as you can see, it is still snowing. The course out has been worked hard, and the 3 categories are about to get underway with the visually impaired first run. 3 categories as always: visually impaired, standing and sitting, with the categories based on the athlete's functional ability. And we'll see athletes with differing impairments competing against each other in the same class, and this is made possible by a results calculation system based on a mathematical formula which was instigated by the athletes many years ago. Now, it gives each class within a category a factor which is applied to the individual's real time and it gives a level playing field. It's important to point out that the times that you will see on your screens throughout the races will be the factored or calculated times. Now, here is the start list for the first run of the visually impaired women's slalom. And the skier to watch out for here, well, Volkasova, number 3, and also number 9, Frantseva of Russia. But Great Britain also having a good Winter Paralympics here. They picked up their first ever gold in the Super G, courtesy of Kelly Gallagher. The question is, can they add to that title? Can Volkasova make up for the mistake she made in the Super Combined Slalom and the Super G? Can Frantseva repeat the performance from the slalom run of the Super Combined? The Super Combined inverted, usually it's speed first, slalom second, but because of the weather, the technical slalom run was run first, with the speed run coming on day 7 of competition, so split over a couple of days. Be interesting to see how that pans out. But here, the first of 2 runs is hopefully just about to get underway. And the first skier we're hoping to see is Jade Etherington of Great Britain, who's competing in her first Winter Paralympic Games. Course profile, well, it's slightly shorter than the slalom track for the Super Combined. 54 gates set by Michael Charrier of France, with a vertical drop of 180 meters. The women's slalom is just about to get underway, with the visually impaired category going first. The weather conditions here at Rosacuta improved slightly from the pouring rain that we have had. But Jade Etherington of Great Britain and Caroline Powell will get us underway. A medalist in her first 2 events, a silver followed by a bronze in the downhill and Super G. Can Etherington add to that tally? It's her first Paralympic Winter Games, and they're off and skiing. Alternate red and blue gates. 3 classes in this visually impaired category, B1, B2 and B3. No B1s in the women's, so just B2 and B3 in this class profile. Includes athletes that are unable to recognise a capital E that is 15 centimetres by 15 centimetres from a distance of 4 metres, and also from a visual field of less than 10 degrees diameter. Now, the best of the conditions for Etherington, because it is as smooth a piece as any of the athletes will get, and the guide doing a good job talking to her guide through Bluetooth radio. And Etherington staying nice and high in the line, trying to keep as much speed between the gates into the final pitch. A couple of gates from home. Etherington looking to set a competitive time. She's down in a minute at .71. Etherington sets the first time of the day as the snow continues to fall. So she'll be back for the second run. Now, Stacey Minella of the United States, the first time that we have seen this 17-year-old at these Winter Paralympic Games, skiing in the B3 class, which describes the least severe visual impairment eligible for Alpine skiing. Oh no, now has she straddled? Just getting perhaps a little bit too close to the guide, but continuing on her way. The guide can be up to 2 gates in front of their athletes in the technical disciplines, just the 1 gate in the speed. And by a straddle, I mean one of the 2 skis going the wrong side of the slalom pole. For example, here the left ski would go to the left of the pole rather than the right. Now, the flattest section of the track before we go over this terrain change on this red gate here into the finishing pitch. And Manella almost 6 seconds off the pace of Etherington at the first time check. Remember, 2 runs decide the slalom medals. And obviously you had to finish the first to take part in the second. And the fastest skiers go in reverse order in the second run, which will be skied over a different pattern of gates, but Manella stops the clock 11.39 off the pace of Etherington.
Here, Kirk.
Now Henrietta Bekasova of Slovakia. 1 gold in the downhill, disqualified in the super combined, and was disqualified from the super G and disqualified from the super combined on day 3. She skied actually the whole course brilliantly, but just missed the final gate. Didn't keep her guide in front of her, and as a result totally missed the final gate. A very good slalom skier. She is going to really pressurise Etherington's time. Bekasova also skiing in the B3 class. The least severe for the visual impairments eligible for Alpine skiing now. Etherington 35.26. Is this time inside? Oh no, it's outside by 0.79. Etherington did ski, or it looked like she skied a very good opening run, and it looks like it could be the case. Bekasova, who is 3rd in the World Cup slalom standings. Etherington, it's worth pointing out, is 2nd. She hasn't won a run, but she's been 2nd on 3 occasions. Bekasova, who's won 2, including the last slalom before coming here, is 1.33 off the pace. Bekasova, whose guide was very vocal on day 4 about the conditions. Now, Korean athlete Yang Ye-rim and Lee Yi-yul, her guide. First time we've seen her at these Paralympic Winter Games. She's racing the technical disciplines of slalom and giant slalom. And here we go. Yang, 9th in the World Cup slalom standing. She's only skied 2 races, but was 3rd in both of them. And her guide, Lee Yi-yul, has gone off at a good pace, and Yang is keeping up and trying to stay high in the line. Oh no, there's a big error. Skidded the turn rather than carved it, and had to come across the piece rather than across and down the piece to make the next gate. Now, that will probably harm her time at the next split, which is 35.26. And Yang, well, 0.87 off the pace. That mistake has really cost her, but it came on the steep section, which isn't as bad as having a mistake on the flats. For obvious reasons, you can continue or keep your momentum going, and she's got it back now. She's skiing beautifully here. Yang really skiing well on these closing turns. How will she fail? No! Just gets it wrong. Let's hope she's okay. Disappointment for the Korean supporters. Yang is out of the slalom. She won't be back for the second run. And it came at a time when she was skiing ever so well. Let's have another look. Yeah, just gets pushed low in the line and gets done by one of the ruts. Possibly just bringing a bit too much speed into that final pitch. But sadly for Yang, she doesn't finish with a time that allows her to compete in the second run. Danielle Umstead in the United States, next out of the start half, the World Cup leader in the slalom discipline. Can she convert that World Cup form to the Paralympics, skiing in the B2 class, the same class as Etherington, our current leader, which includes athletes that cannot recognise a capital E, 15 by 15 centimetres in size from a distance of 4 metres, or athletes with a visual field of less than 10 degrees diameter are eligible for this sport class, and Umstead going steadily down here to the third in the super combined slalom leg, but she's 5 seconds off the pace here, which would put her in third position. Her teammate Zacy Manella currently in third, but 11 seconds off the pace of our leader Edrington. And Umstead gets a decent rhythm down this final pitch. 1 minute, 0.87 Edrington's time. It's come and gone, and Umstead's still a couple of gates from home. There's a bit of a rut forming on that red gate, but Umstead is down. She goes third ahead of Manella, her teammate. 7.87 off the pace. Husband and wife share a hug in the finish area. Now, Kelly Gallagher of Great Britain with Charlotte Evans. This pair created history for Great Britain on day 2 of these games by picking up their country's first ever gold medal at a Winter Paralympics. 6th in the downhill. Skied out of the slalom leg in the super combined, having skied by her own admission that she thought was a very good run until her error. But how will she fare here? Skiing in the B3 class. And Charlotte Evans, the guide, setting a good pace. And Gallagher, oh, late in the line. Now, can she bring it back under control? Can she put it behind her? Well, she's 0.36 ahead of her compatriot Edrington. Good skiing here from Kelly Gallagher of Great Britain. Not to be confused with Jessica Gallagher of Australia, who's next out of the start hut. Gallagher's down again. She's lost the ski. Frustration for Kelly Gallagher, and disappointment for her family and friends and supporters. She was going ever so well. She was the right side of the clock. Now, what happened here? Did she straddle? No. Well, there was a ski release. The rut forming after only 5 skiers or 6 skiers, severe enough to dislodge the left ski of Kelly Gallagher. And well, that will be a disappointment, also a concern for the British coaches. They'll be on the radio back up the hill just to warn of that big rut. They don't have any more, or they have one more skier coming in this category, Millie Knight, who is going 10th of the 10 skiers. But we just saw Jessica Gallagher pull back from the start. That is Melissa Perrin. But here is Jessica Gallagher and Christian Geiger of Australia in the B3 class.
3, 2, 1.
The first we've seen of Jessica Gallagher. It is her birthday in 2 days' time, and she get an early birthday present. Third in Vancouver in the slalom. She also competed at the London 2012 Paralympics in javelin and long jump, the first Australian athlete to compete at a summer and winter Paralympics. How she's faring on these opening turns of this women's slalom for the visually impaired category. 35.26 is the time of Edrington, our leader, and Gallagher over a second off the pace, 1.1 off the pace of Jade Edrington. Now, this final pitch, very, very difficult. And so far, Jessica Gallagher doing very well. Getting the poles out in front of her. The snow getting thicker and thicker. It's really dumping down now, and all the while the track will be getting slower. 3.22 the time. She's in third place for the time being, with 3 to come. Within touching distance. Now Alexandra Fantseva of Russia with Pavel Zabatin her guide in the B2 class, same class as Edrington, our leader. And Franceva had a superb slalom run in the super combined on day 4 of these games. Can she repeat that on day 5? And she will. She'll be taking home another medal. Bronze in the downhill, silver in the Super G. Can she make it the full house of Winter Paralympic medals at her home games? Sabatin, the guide, looking every second turn over his right shoulder, and Franceva over a second faster than Edrington. Beautiful ski from the Russian here. The crowd in the finish area will respond to her. Now, can she keep it together down this final pitch? We've seen a couple of skiers come to grief down here. The big ruts that are forming, but Franceva is skiing as well. Tricky couple of gates in that combination, but Franceva is down, but she's lost nearly 1.5 seconds between the time interval and the bottom, but she is in second place, 0.55 off the pace. Melissa Perrin and Andrew Bohr, the next skiers out of the start up. In the B2 class, Perrin, oh no, losing the ski right out of the gate. And shows you how steep this opening pitch is. Well, the ski has just disappeared down and come to a stop on some snow. Now what's happened here? Well, just like Kelly Gallagher, who lost her left ski, Perrin loses her right because of the ruts forming in the snow. So real disappointment for her. She was disqualified after finishing the slalom run of the super combined. And sadly for her, she gets only 2 gates into her challenge in the slalom. Transfer just de-rigging at the bottom of the piste. As the athletes go through their warm-up routine. We have 1 skier remaining in the visually impaired category. That is Millie Knight, who is the youngest of all the athletes competing in the Alpine skiing here at the Sochi Winter Paralympics. Let's have another look. Watch this. It just bounces her right foot out of the binding. It actually opens up. The heel binding opens up. And there's just no way back for the Australian from there. Andrew Bohr, guide, has absolutely no idea what's happened. And poor Melissa Perrin has another miserable day on the slopes. So Millie Knight of Great Britain,
3, 2, 1, go!
as I say, the youngest ever athlete, or the youngest ever athlete to compete for Great Britain at a Winter Paralympics. She was the flag bearer at the opening ceremony. And you can see there a massive run on that red gate, which she just about survives. Her guide, Rachel Ferrier, and Knight, well, there are 6 finishes at the moment out of 10. Gets to the bottom, she's going to give herself a shout of a medal in that second run. Anything can happen. The skiers go in the reverse order. Finishing in the first run, so the slowest will be first and the fastest last. And Knight 4.75 off the pace. That will put her in 5th position if she can keep that sort of time difference at the bottom. Good job being done by Ferrier. Now, the 15-year-old getting quite close to her guide. Ferrier probably just needs to open up maybe a little bit. She does just get a bit more space between her and Knight, and there's another big rut that Knight does well to negotiate. It's a matter of survival. She will go near the top. She finishes in 6th position, just in front of Stacey Manella, and the 15-year-old will ski in the second run. She'll be second out of the gate. That will help her because the piece will be flatter. But a good run from Millie Knight and Rachel Ferrier. Her first run at the Paralympics, and she's finished. So here are the results after the first run of the women's slalom in the visually impaired category. Jade Etherington of Great Britain leads the way from Alexandra Frantseva of Russia by just over half a second. Henrietta Bakasova of Slovakia is in third. Jessica Gallagher of Australia is in fourth. The non-finishers, Yang Ye Rim of Korea, Kelly Gallagher of Great Britain, and Melissa Perrin of Australia. So we will have 7 skiers in the second run as the piece workers get to work for the standing category. And the snow continues to fall here in Rosa Kuta. 10 to 12 centimetres overnight on the top half of the slope, 3 to 5 on the bottom, but that is being added to by the second. Now, we prepare ourselves for the standing category. 18 competitors going in this one. So the women's slalom for the standing category, the first run just about to get underway. The course workers just getting the piece ready for the 18 competitors in this category. Remember, slalom decided over 2 runs. And in the second run, the fastest skiers will go in reverse order. So the fastest from the first run will go last in the second. Let's have a look at the start list here. And Inga Medvedeva of Russia carries the hopes for the home nation. Andrea Rothfuss of Germany, always there or thereabouts at major competitions, battling it out for medals, but the skier that we need to keep an eye on is number 13 there, Marie Bochet, already a double gold medalist from the downhill and Super G. She is the skier to beat, and well, she underlined her dominance by topping the times in the slalom leg of the super combined on day 4 by over 2 seconds. But she was second down the piste on that occasion. This time she's a long way down the start list. It'll be interesting to see how she can deal with these very challenging conditions on this slalom piece. The snow has been falling. The piece workers have done a great job to get the piece ready, but the ruts are forming. It's still very soft underfoot, and the skiers are going to have to negotiate some pretty difficult turns on some of these gates. The women's slalom in the standing category is underway, and the first skier to tackle this course is Maria Populova of Russia. There are 7 classes in the standing category, and Populova skiing in the LW682 class for skiers that have an impairment in one arm, or skiers with combined arm and leg impairments. You will see skiers with different impairments competing against each other in the same category. This is made possible by a results calculation system, which is based on a mathematical formula which was instigated by athletes many years ago, and it gives each class within a category, so each of the 7 classes within this standing category, a factor which is applied to the time, which gives a level playing field. And the time that you're seeing here on your screen now is actually the factored or calculated time for this class. And Populova doing a great job down this course, and she finishes in a time of 1:02.83 to set the benchmark. The top 15 in this category, the top 15 in the world rankings, and they are drawn randomly. They start bib order drawn randomly. And the next out of the gate is Inga Medvedeva of Russia. More of a speed skier than a slalom skier, but she is third in the World Cup slalom standing. A couple of third place finishes on the World Cup, most notably in the last two slalom races in St. Moritz back in February. Second in the downhill, disqualified in the Super G. Medvedeva in the LW2 class, which is for skiers that have a significant impairment in one leg. And Papulova's time of 35.25 is 3/4 of a second quicker than Medvedeva's time. But remember, the slalom is decided over 2 runs, so if Medvedeva can be in touch going into the second run, she'll fancy her chances of a medal here on home snow. Into these final turns on this finishing pitch. Very difficult combination coming into this pitch, but Medvedeva gets through it and is 0.86 of a second off the calculated time of Papulova. So next out of the start hut is Alison Jones of the United States of America in the LW2 class. The slalom champion from the Turin Olympics in 2006, the world slalom champion from 2004. An amazing athlete, Jones, been to every... Oh no, gets high side that, having caught the blue gate. I was going to say, been to every Paralympics, winter or summer, since 2002, but that was a big fall. Getting catapulted forward, catching the blue gate. Let's just have a look. Does she ski? Does she straddle it? Yeah, she goes the wrong side of that blue gate, and that just throws her up into the air. No way back from there for Alison Jones. So having taken a bronze in the downhill, it's going to be a DNF, I'm afraid, in the slalom. We're saying no defending champion here. Lauren Wollstonecroft of Canada, who swept the board in Vancouver, has since retired, so we will occupy top spot here in Sochi. And Latimer of Canada, 17-year-old, just warming up. So the next skier out the start hut is Anna Jochimsen of the Netherlands. Another skier in the LW2 class. Her first Paralympics. Didn't finish the slalom leg of the super combine. Can she go better here? She's certainly letting her ski run. And the secret, well, the athletes have 2 choices here. They can either take it a little easy and go high in the line and make sure they get to the bottom, or they can let it go and hope that they can ride out some of these really big ruts that are forming on the piste. And Jochimsen doing a great job, just at 1400ths off the pace of Papulova, our current leader. Now here come those big ruts, and can Jochimsen deal with them? So far, so good. Yeah, good skiing from Jochimsen. Inside of the finish now, Papulova's time 102.83. Jochimsen leads by over a second. Brilliant run from the skier from the Netherlands. And the orange fans have something to cheer about. Excellent run from Jochimsen. Now, Andrea Rothfuss of Germany. Next out the start hut, silver medalist in Vancouver, silver medalist at the Worlds in slalom. She has 3 Paralympic silvers in her collection. She's never taken gold. She's the slalom world champion from Sestriere in 2011. didn't finish downhill or Super G, which was a huge surprise. Now, can she put together a run here? 35.39, the time of Yokosun. And look at this, Rothfuss 1.37 inside the pace so far. But she's got this difficult final pitch to negotiate. Rothfuss, second in the World Cup slalom standings. Getting a little wide on that right ski turn. It gets it back together now. 2 gates from home. Rothfuss leads by over 2.45 seconds. She's finally laid down a run here in Sochi. But she's got a second one to come. Petra Smazova of Slovakia in the LW682 class. Has a bronze from the Vancouver Games in GS. She was 7th in slalom in 2006, but took silver in slalom in the World Championships in Sochi in 2011, so she does have some slalom form. 6th in the slalom leg of the Super Combined, and doing a decent job on these top turns. Smazova, once you get in time, Rothfuss is 34.02. She's going to be outside, but by how much? 1.6 seconds. It's not bad at all. Rothfuss really laying down the gauntlet to Bochet. And goes at bib number 23. And Smazova coming through the snow and cloud inside of the finish through those tricky turns. And she'll stop the clock at 1:03.98, 4.61 off the pace, and lost a fair bit of time between the intermediate checkpoint and the bottom. 3 seconds in fact. She's 5th for the time being. Now Katja Saarinen of Finland. First time we've seen her at these Winter Paralympics. Doing the technical events. Only major medal was a bronze from the World Championships in 2004. Oh, and gets caught by the rut, and that is the problem you have. Now she's going to try and get back up, is she? She wants to be back for the second run. And the slider's being told to stop so she can get skiing again, and she has made the gate. It's going to be a long way off the time, but she's waited a long time to get her Winter Paralympic campaign underway, and she wants it to continue, so quite right to ski back up. You never know what might happen. We've seen some pretty high attritional races at these Paralympics. And you've got to be in the second run to have a chance. She's getting very late in the line, and she finally skis out. So disappointment for Katja Saarinen of Finland. She won't be back for the second run. And the emotion plain to see. Once you get late in the line, it's almost impossible to get it back. And as you can see, she comfortably misses that blue gate. So disappointment for Saarinen. I think she's absolutely fine. It's just the disappointment. Let's see that Julio Marimon of Spain zoning in. You can see the snow just gathering on those findings. Well, Ramsey, the young Canadian. Saarinen needs to be helped back onto a ski. She'll need to get to the bottom. She needs to get out the way so we can continue the women's slalom in the standing category. So this is the standings at the moment. Andrea Rothfuss of Germany leads the way by nearly 2.5 seconds from Anna Jochimsen of the Netherlands. Maria Populova of Russia is third, but there's plenty of space at the top of the leaderboard. 3.5 seconds almost separating first from third. Now, Stephanie Yalin of the United States, third in the Super G. Her first run at a Paralympic Games, and she took a medal. Brilliant young skier, skiing in the LW91 class. The skiers that have an impairment affects arms and legs. Very vocal, talks to herself all the way down. She was third in the slalom leg of the Super Combined, but she's had a big mistake at the top, so I think she's going to be way off the pace. Oh no, she's got that totally wrong and skis out of the slalom now. Is she okay? Disappointment for the American coaches. She just got her line wrong. Yalin, okay, she's up on her ski. Let's hope nothing more than bruised pride. Around this red gate, she was too late in the line on the blue, and she was absolutely motoring. As we've seen before, you hit those gates, like Alison Jones before it, you are going to go airborne, and sadly for Yalin, that is what happened. So the United States not having a good morning so far. Erin Latimer of Canada now in the LW682 class. The skiers that have an impairment in one arm, or the skiers who combine leg-arm impairments. And he skied a first World Cup event in January. He's been thrown in at the deep end in the Paralympic Games, the Winter Paralympic Games. Didn't finish the Super G, which she was very, very upset about, but came 8th in the slalom leg of the Super Combined. Now, what can she do here? 34.02, that was a really good time from Rothfuss. I'm not expecting Latimer to be inside that, and she's not. And she's 5.87 off the pace. It's all about setting yourself up for the second run. Latimer, through this difficult pattern of gates on the finishing pitch, gets through there no problem. Now a couple of gates from home. She comes across to her left hand side, and Latimer finishes 10 seconds off the pace. She goes in 6th for the time being. Now her teammate Alexandra Starker won a standing slalom race in Coronet Peak in New Zealand back in August. Her first Paris, she was a bronze medalist at the World Champions in slalom, giant slalom and Super Combined, so used to being on the podium at major events, and she had a Paralympic medal, Winter Paralympic medal to her collection. Again, I don't expect Rothfuss's time to be bettered. It was a very good ski, and Starker is outside it, but by how much? The answer, 4.59 seconds. Now, into this final pitch. And Starker doing a good job of staying in contention for this second run. Remember, slalom medals decided over 2 runs, which is very late in the line through that red gate. That will cost them more time. Missed the first run, the second run later on day 5. And Starker finishes 8.21 off the pace, where the skiers will go in reverse order based on their time. The fastest will go last, the slowest first. Now, Ursula Puyo-Marimon of Spain screams out of the start hut. She's 4th in the World Cup standings in slalom and gets done by a rut at the top of the piece, and well, I think she's thought about climbing back up, but then decided enough is enough, and it's another disappointing ski for Puyo Marimon. She didn't finish the Super G. She was disqualified in the Super Combined, having fallen in the slalom leg, and well, she's fallen here as well. Melanie Schwartz of the United States, a winner on the World Cup Slalom Tour this year, the first slalom in Coronet Park in New Zealand. Raced for Canada in Vancouver, where she was 13th. How was she there here? She was actually a torchbearer at the Vancouver Paralympics. Down Blue Mountain, I think it was, with the torch. How's she going here? Tentatively is the answer. She's trying to stay as high as she can, gets close to the gate to avoid these big ruts, and it will cost her a lot of time, but it should mean she gets to the bottom safely. And standing in the start hut, and you see a couple of skiers ski out before you, it does play on your mind, and she's 11 and a half seconds off the pace at the first intermediate time check. And Schwartz determined to make the second run here. She can afford to be a little bit more aggressive as she goes with a higher start number. And Schwartz will get to the bottom, and she is 18.38 off the pace. Goes into 8th position. That's the delight of her supporters. She'll be back for the second run. Now Marie Bochet of France, the totally dominant skier in the standing category. She won the Super Combined, the slalom leg of the Super Combined. Oh no! Well, what an upset that is. Bochet has fallen in the opening turns of the slalom. And I wondered whether or not the later start bib would cause some problems, and it does. Let's have another look. It's a big rut that gets her. She gets caught on the inside ski, in fact. And no way back for Bochet. And so the 5-time world champion from La Molina won't be repeating the feat here in Sochi. And a real chance now for Rothfuss to finally get a Winter Paralympic gold medal. Now, Laura Valanau of Romania. Her second Winter Paralympics. First time we've seen her here in Sochi though. She's a technical skier, so we'll see her in the giant slalom as well. The last of the seeded skiers to race. 10th in the World Cup standings. Only skied 2 slalom races, both at St. Moritz in February. And she's 5th in both of those, and here she's doing a good job, just at 2.68 off the pace. Now she's skiing in the LW4 class, which is similar to the one of skiers in LW2, but LW4 skiers have an impairment in one leg only, but with less activity limitation. Typical example is a below the knee amputation in one leg. Now, Valanau inside of the finish, 59.37 comes and goes, and she's lost a lot of time on that final pitch, but she's in 6th place, just over 6 seconds off the pace of Rothfuss. Now, Alana Ramsey of Canada, the 19-year-old in her first major competition. Look how steep that first turn is. She's skiing in the LW92 class, which is the skiers that have an impairment that affects arms and legs. Some skiers in this class have coordination problems such as spasticity or some loss of control over one side of their body. And depending on their abilities, they'll ski with 1 or 2 skis and 1 or 2 poles. But Ramsey has 2 skis and 2 poles. And getting pushed a little low in the line on those final gates of the steep section. Now onto the flatter section of this slalom piste. It really is a very, very challenging run. And Ramsey finds herself nearly 10 seconds off the pace of Rothfuss. And Ramsey taking it steady. We've been on the two-way radio to the coaches who would have been reporting back from Alexandra Starker and Erin Latimer, who have gone before her. And like her compatriots, she's just making sure she gets to the bottom for the second run. And Ramsey doing a good job here. The time of Rothfuss irrelevant for Ramsey. She's finished and 14 seconds off the pace. The Canadians in 7th, 8th and 9th. And they will both be back for the second run later on. Anastasia Korosheva of Russia, another skier who has a birthday during these Paralympic Games, these Winter Paralympic Games. It's her birthday. What would be day 7 of these games, the day that this race was originally scheduled for. Changing the schedule due to the bad weather on day 4. Which meant the super. Oh no! Well, Korosheva has missed the second gate. She's climbing back up to make sure she gets her boots above the line. There you go, she's done that. Well, a big error from the Russian athlete on the second turn. You can see how it is cutting up. And there's a different pattern of gates for the second run, but Korosheva not enjoying herself at all on these opening turns, looking very uncomfortable. Really a surprise, the first major competition. It's the Winter Paralympic Games. It's an athlete to watch out for in the future, perhaps. Korosheva 22 seconds off the pace of Rothfuss. And with 2 skiers still to come, Rothfuss will top the standings after this opening slalom run. And I say that because the final 2 skiers are well down on the world ranking list, which is how the final 3 are decided. And Korosheva finishes 27.05 off the pace of Rothfuss. She'll be back for run 2. Now the pink helmet and gloves of Lina Damgaard of Denmark. And she too having difficulty in these opening 3 turns, and just making sure of the opening gates. First female para athletes for Denmark, a winter para athlete. The first major event. She's skiing the technical disciplines. And making very sure of these turns. The LW2 class for Damgaard. The skiers that have a significant impairment in one leg. Some skiers, for example, have an impaired leg from birth, and you will see them ski with only the one ski. Damgaard not enjoying herself in these steep turns. Now can she get a bit of rhythm on this flatter section through that verticale? Got about 4 more gates to go before she's onto this final pitch, which is coming up here. And 26 seconds off the pace of the first intermediate time check. Vanguard a bit more rhythm on these lower turns, but again, like the number that had gone before it, just trying to make sure because of these big ruts. And she's down, she's not out there, she can still make that red gate above her left shoulder. She has to go to the left of that gate, which she is doing. It would be once you get offline, it's very brutal, but still going, and she will finish. Well done to Lina Damgaard. Almost a minute off the pace of Rothfuss, but she will ski again here in Sochi in the slalom. Twelfth for the time being for Lina Damgaard, and we still have one to come. In fact, Ilma Kazacic of Bosnia-Herzegovina is not starting, so that is the end of the first run from the women's slalom standing category. Andrea Rothfuss leads the way, 59.37. Anna Jokusum of the Netherlands in second, 2.45. Maria Populova of Russia, the third quickest on the first run, 3.46 off the pace. And the skiers will go in reverse order in the second run a little later on. So the course workers get to work once again for the 11 skiers remaining at the top of the hill. In the sitting category. Beautiful view of the snow settling on the trees. It continues to absolutely throw it down here in Rosa Kuta. Canadian supporters, they have one skier coming in the sit ski category. That is Lina Damgaard of Denmark, who's just finished in the standing category. It's women's slalom day here at Rosa Kuta on day 5 of competition. And we are preparing ourselves for the opening run in the women's slalom sitting category. Here is the start list, 11 athletes going. Kimberly Joins gets us underway, but Anna Schaffelhuber, number 6, the skier to beat, although the defending champion is Claudia Loesch of Austria. The top 6 skiers, so the ones you saw before this page, drawn randomly from Tanaka down. It's based on world ranking, so Tanaka the highest ranked of those 5 athletes. Erna Friedrichsdottir of Iceland, the lowest ranked athlete in the sitting category. The weather, well, it's better than it was on day 4 when it was pouring with rain. Kimberly Joins of Canada will get this women's slalom sitting category race underway. The weather, well, it's been snowing all night. It snowed 10 to 12 centimetres on the top half of the course, 2 to 5 on the bottom. But that was before we got up here, and since then it's been snowing. So conditions difficult, very soft underfoot, a lot of ruts in the piste, but Kimberly Joins doing a good job of negotiating these early turns. Second at the World Championships in slalom back in 2009. 11th in 2006 in slalom in Torino. Joins sets the first time 39.94. 11 athletes skiing this sitting category. and joins on the flatter parts of the course before this finishing pitch. Some big ruts down here. And joins. Oh, hits one. Makes the red gate though. She will finish. Good recovery. 107.33 the time to beat. The Canadian supporters, with some of the athletes that have already skied, cheering her down. Annalena Forster of Germany, the next to go. Her first Winter Paralympic Games. She was second at the World Championships in slalom. And she was second in the slalom run of the Super Combined. So a real chance here for her to pick up a medal if she can safely negotiate this first run and put herself in a good position for run 2 later on. Joins, that's the early time, 39.94, but Forster looks to be going quicker, and indeed she is by 1.66 seconds. The times, you are seeing the calculated times. There are 3 classes in this setting category. Each class has a different factor that is applied to real time, and that gives the calculated time. It's a mathematical formula that was instigated by the athletes to allow athletes with more than one impairment to compete against each other. And there are 3 classes within this sitting category, LW10, 11 and 12. We'll tell you about them a little bit more later on. And Forster leads the way, 0.92 inside the pace of Joins. Those two in the LW12 class, which is a sport class that includes skiers with normal or any slightly decreased trunk function and leg impairments. Next to challenge is Claudia Loesch, the defending Paralympic slalom champion in the sitting category. And struggling on these top turns. She was third in the slalom leg of the Super Combined, but the ruts proving very tricky for Loesch, and taking a very rounded line early on. Now, can she get some rhythm going in the bottom half of this track? It's so soft, it's cutting up. And you can see these big bumps. In fact, she's skiing almost outside of the racing line in order to get a smoother run. And she'll be outside Forster's time for sure. But by how much? Will she leave herself too much to do in the second run? Loesch in the LW11 class, which is for skiers that have good abilities in their upper trunk, so she posted time 6.67 seconds slower than our leader, but they have limited control in their lower trunks and hips, as it would be the case for skiers with a lower spinal cord injury. Now she gets the rhythm going. Forster's time 106.41, I think, will stand the test of Claudia Loesch, but can Loesch put herself in a position to challenge in run 2? Remember, the slalom category, the race is decided over 2 runs. The skiers go in reverse order in the second run in terms of their finishing position, so the slowest will be first. And Loesch and Forster having a little chat, saying the conditions are pretty terrible up there. Now, Laurie Stevens of the United States, who on Super G Day saw her 2 compatriots, Stephanie Victor and Alana Nichols, both helicoptered off the piste. I can tell you the news from the medical teams is that they are okay, so that is good news. But Stevens with an amazingly composed, mature run to finish third in the Super G, having seen both her compatriots helicoptered off the piste. She's more of a speed skier than she is a technical skier. But has given herself some confidence ahead of this slalom race by finishing 4th in the slalom run of the Super Combined. Now, how close is she to Forster's time? 1.25. That's good skiing from Stevens. 4th in the World Cup standings. She's got 2 second place finishes to her name. Coronet Park in New Zealand in August and Thredbo in Australia in September. Those are the only two races she has competed in on the World Cup this season, and now she heads up for the final few gates. Oh, yeah, just about survives that big rut, 2 from home. And Stevens will be back for the second run. She's third for the time being, 2.45 off the pace of Forster. So 2 more of the seeds to come. First of which is Anna Turney of Great Britain in the LW12 class. Never medalled at a Winter Paralympics or World Championships. 6th in slalom in Vancouver. She was twice been 4th at the World Championship, albeit in giant slalom. Can she finally break that duck and find her way onto a podium at a major championship? Well, good turns on the top from Turney. Can she keep it together? Can she avoid the big ruts and bumps on this course? A spectacular wipeout in the downhill on day 1 of competition, but finished 5th in the slalom leg of the super combined on day 4. Now, Forster's time 38.28. Turney will be outside it, but by how much? The answer 4.8 seconds. Now, Claudia Loesch, the defending Paralympic Winter champion, is 7.4 seconds off the pace. So Turney, she cannot lose too much time between here and the bottom. She put herself in with a good shout of maybe getting a medal in this slalom discipline. 106.41 has come and gone, and Turney is taking it a little bit more easy down this final pitch than she did on the top turns, and so she will lose more time. I think she'll be behind Loesch. She will be. She will go 5th, 7.53. She's only 1100 slower than the defending Winter Paralympic champion. Now, Annalena Forster's time will get a real test here. It's Anna Schaffelhuber, the double gold medalist from these games so far in downhill and Super G. She won the slalom leg of the Super Combined. She really is a very good technical skier, but she is the last of the seas to go, and the piste conditions are getting ever more harder with every skier that goes. Good turn from Schaffelhuber, but will the clock like her start? Well, 4:38.28 her teammates' time, and Schaffelhuber is going to be inside by over a second. Schaffelhuber showing her class once again, aiming for 5 golds from these Winter Paralympic Games, and you wouldn't bet against her the way she's been skiing. Look how she takes the gates on her helmet, on the chin guard, batting them out of the way. Oh, that one right across the eyes. Great angle to see how the best sitting slalom skiers go about their business. And Schaffelhuber demolishes the time of Forster by 1.34 seconds. It's a Germany 1-2 at the moment, with Kimberly joins of Canada in 3. A great run from Schaffelhuber. No, she doesn't look best pleased with it, but considering the conditions, it's a good run. Now, Yoshiko Tanaka of Japan picked up a bronze medal in slalom back at the World Championships in 2009 in Pyeongchang. The highest ranked of the non-seeded skiers. Schaffelhuber, the last of the seeded skiers to go. 5 skiers remain. 2 of them from Japan. How can Tanaka go here? Some decent opening turns from the Japanese skier, but she's going to be slower than Schaffelhuber. There's no disgrace in that. She is the standout athlete in this category, but By how much? 9.46. It puts her 7th for the time being. It should be last of the skiers down so far in the sitting category, but that is where her world ranking would have her be. So Tanaka making sure and doing a good job on these difficult money turns of this slalom track. You can see the big ruts and bumps. Tanaka taking it wide to avoid them, avoid as many as possible, and she is 7th, 13 seconds off the pace. So a first look at Yoshiko Tanaka and a first look at Victoria Pendergast of Australia in the LW 12-1 class. Her first major competition, 23 years of age. And the Australian trying to make sure of these opening turns so she can come back for the second run. Slalom decided over 2 runs, the fastest skiers going in reverse order on run 2. And Schaffelhuber's time will not be beaten by the remaining skiers in this sitting category. And Pendergast 8.41 off the pace. And she's ski in front of Tanaka, who is the 7th place of the 7 skiers to have finished. 13.75 seconds to play with Pendergast. And in sight of the finish. Schaffelhuber's time, calculated time, comes and goes. And look at the bumps. Oh, that's a huge hole there on that blue gate. But Schaffelhuber survives and finishes in 8th spot. 16.46 off the pace. She'll be back. Muraoka of Japan in the LW class. 17 years old. 9 days ago on the 3rd of March. In her first major competition. Muraoka taking these top turns very gingerly. 2 more to come after her. Muraoka just taking the rounded line to avoid the big ruts, or to ski into them rather than drop into them. You don't want to get bounced out of these ruts on the 6 ski. Once they start bouncing, it's very difficult to control. Of course, you need your ski to be in contact with the snow to control yourself. And if you start bouncing around, it becomes, well, impossible really. And Muraoka, 17 seconds off the pace of our leader Anna Schaffelhuber of Germany, who will have the lead going into the second run. Muraoka into these very difficult turns on the final pitch. Oh, there's one of the big holes, another one's coming up right there. And 2 gates from home. She finishes 24.78 seconds off the pace. She is 9th. Well done to Muraoka. A little welcoming committee at the bottom now. Linnea Ottosson-Eder of Sweden, 20 years of age, her first major. Her goal is to medal in 2018 in Pyeongchang. And, enough is enough for Ottosson-Eder of Sweden. She retires and will pick up a DNF. She won't be back for the second run. Well, the arrow came before then. That's the aftermath. You can see the wet condition of the snow from the spray coming up from the ski. So now we wait Anna Friðriksdóttir of Iceland, first Icelandic athlete to compete at the Winter Paralympic Games. And the lowest ranked of all the 6 skiers in this competition. I should say first female athletes have completed the Winter Paralympics. And, like many that have gone before in all the categories, just trying to make sure the turns, get to the bottom and come back for the second run. Difficult snow conditions, they're wet, there's a lot of salt and chemicals on the snow to try and bind it and draw the moisture out. And it makes for a different feel under the ski, which some may not be used to. "20 seconds off the pace of Schaffelhuber at the first intermediate. Who's got it, competing in the LW12-1 class for skiers with normal or only slightly decreased trunk function and leg impairments. Skiers with leg impairments in sport classes LW1-4, which is in the standing category, often also fit into this sport class, so they can choose if they want to ski sitting or standing at the beginning of their careers. Well, who's got it inside of the finish now, through that really big hole, 3 from home. And she's down in a time of 1:33.41, 28.34 off the pace. She is 10th. The welcoming committee gives her the lift that she would need. So the standings after the first run of the women's slalom sitting category look like this. Anna Schaffelhuber of Germany leads the way with an advantage of 1.34 seconds over her compatriot Annalena Forster. Kimberly joins of Canada third, 2.26. Remember, the skiers go in reverse order of their finishing order in the second run, which is coming up later. Well, brilliant stuff in this first run of the slalom on day 5 of competition for the women. And it sets it up nicely for the second run later on day 5. Let's remind ourselves of what happened in run 1. Yes, more drama here at Rosa Kuta in the Alpine skiing. Plenty of surprises, none more so than Marie Bochet of France skiing out of the women's slalom in the standing category. The double gold medalist from these games, a 5-time gold medalist from the World Championships. She won't be repeating that feat here in Sochi. But Great Britain lead the way in the visually impaired. We have Germany leading the way in the women's sitting, and we have Germany leading the way in the standing category as well. It's all set up nicely for the second run when the medals will be decided. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of run 1, and we'll see you for run 2.